Meanwhile, U.S.-led airstrikes have claimed the lives of at least 10 civilians in 2 separate provinces in Syria. 3 of them, including a child, were killed in a village in Hasaka province, and 7 others died in a village west of Dar al-Zar. ISIL militants are in control of the majority of the oil-rich Dar al-Zar province. The U.S.-led coalition has been bombing ISIL targets in Iraq and Syria, but has largely failed to halt militant advances. We're going to cross over to Amman, joined by author and freelance journalist Siraj Davis. Thank you so much for being with us, Mr. Davis. Well, how do you see this in general when we look at the U.S. airstrikes in Syria and Iraq? Many would say that so far they really have not been very effective. First of all, do you agree with that? And if that is the case, why is it so?
I believe the airstrikes in Syria and Iraq are not effective, of course. I think that the U.S. is pushing up a campaign to care about what's occurring on the border of Turkey, specifically in Kobane, because it has to give an impression to everybody that it actually cares and it's very committed toward this war or insurgency, counterinsurgency against the ISIS group. In specific, I would have to say that it's going to give that image that it cares, but realistically, I don't think it cares. It's about controlling the situation as opposed to destroying the ISIS group. I would say that Kobani, the old name being Ain al-Arab by the Syrian government, it's in a drastic situation. Of course, the Kurds are fighting. There was a reporter correspondent before me that said you have to be careful what's in the media. I absolutely agree with her because of the fact that there are strange numbers in regards to casualties that are coming out of Kobani. I mean, I read one report there were 700 ISIS insurgents killed, while there were, I think, about 400 ISIS insurgents killed, while 700 Kurds were killed. Those figures are kind of they cause consternation to anybody that's observing the battle. They want to know what's going on because either those figures are inaccurate or what ISIS is doing is trying to raise the body count, trying to win this war, not on the conventional terms of ascertaining control of Kobani, but trying to bleed Kobani out. I think if you look at the long-term political goal, you can see what Turkey is trying to do. I mean, it's no mystery that the Iraqi Kurds have always been on good basis, good conditions with Iraq. The Iraqi Kurds have been in good conditions with Turkey, and Turkey has had a bad situation or bad relations with the Kurdish population in Syria. So, I mean, it was even Assad's father who, helped the PKK grow in Syria. Also, the Turkish government didn't say anything when Kirkuk was taken, when the Kurds in Iraq took control of Kirkuk. The Turkish government, which before used to complain about it, nothing came out of their mouth. So the relationship between Turkey and the Iraqi Kurds are good, and the Prime Minister Erdogan has an ability or chance to try to use the Syrian Kurds against the Assad government and try to win win favor from the PKK and the Democratic Party of the Kurds inside of Syria. Also, Erdogan, Prime Minister of Turkey, also has something to gain because the last elections in March, he had 43% of the vote. If he can win the PKK and the Kurdish population in Turkey, that's 6.5%, and that can help him to win the election. So Prime Minister of Turkey, Erdogan, he has a lot of things he could gain from this. He could create a proxy war against Assad's government.
But let me just jump in here, Mr. Davis. Limited time. So sorry. But however, we haven't seen any real action by the Turks. You say that Erdogan, had a lot that he could have gained from this situation. So far, though, we haven't seen any movement. Is it that they're just waiting to see what happens in Kobani? Do you think the Turkish government is just watching and waiting to see how many of the Kurds are killed? Or how do you analyze what we're seeing at this moment?
I think you asked a very, very pertinent question that elicits an answer the audience needs to know. What the Turkish government is doing, precisely doing, from my intelligence sources, is it's waiting to see if the PKK capitulates to their demands. If the PKK will allow themselves to be used as a proxy army against Assad's government, if it gives up its wishes to become a autonomous Kurdistan and work with the Turkish government, then the Turkish government's going to come in like the heroes and basically stop ISIS. But they're waiting on that. You asked a good question. The Turkish government wants specific things from the PKK and the Syrian Kurds. And until the Kurds in Syria give it to them, they're not going to come in. That's the waiting time interval that we're seeing here. Turkish government is trying to use this bad situation to its own advantage. That's my personal opinion from all the sources.
Thank you so much for being with us. Author and freelance journalist, Mr. Siraj Davis, out of Amman.